Welcome to Movie Damage, where we're bringing you everything you need to know about Game of Thrones Season 5. So anyway, this series, there were some big events, then there was some not so big events. It was a bit of a mix. In fact, it almost seemed like pretty much everything was set up, and then in the last 3 episodes everything just happened, just bang, 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 bang. Okay, so we'll start with Tyrion. He's not in the best place at the beginning of this series. He's stuck with Varys, and they're heading to the east. And as the story goes forward, we find out Varys is trying to get Tyrion introduced to Daenerys, and a few things happen along the way, such as Jorah. He finds Tyrion and kidnaps him, and then they end up getting attacked by, stone men. Pirates capture them. They have to become gladiators. Yeah, Tyrion would have been funny to see as that. And yeah, so there's a big adventure that Tyrion goes on. Then we have sort of Dany's little story. At the moment, Dany's still growing as a ruler. She's still very young. She's in charge of the city. She's freed all the slaves, but just having the population on your side, it was like she's still got a lot of enemies, and they're out for her. Probably her biggest threat right now is the Sons of the Harpy. These guys are pretty ruthless, and they do actually do quite considerable damage to Dany's rule. Even killing some of her really needed, allies. But Dany's strong, and I think that she's going to come through in the end. So also, she gets Tyrion finally meets up with her, and the two end up exchanging quite a good amount of conversation. I've got to admit, I really enjoyed them two. It was probably one of my favourite parts in the whole series. I mean, I had a lot of favourite parts in it, but that was just, you just felt this connection between these two. Also, Daenerys, she's got other problems. One of the big problems is the fighting pitch. Should she or shouldn't she open them up? In the end, she does open them up, and this ends up leading to her, one of the clench points at the end. I'll get back to that later. Jon Snow, one of our favourite characters at the moment, probably one of the few heroes from the first series that we've got left. He's facing his own new challenges. He's been nominated to lead the night, become Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, which he's reluctant about taking the job, but he does end up becoming Lord Commander, and he makes some decisions which are very unpopular with his friends at the Night Watch, and a lot of the people who aren't his friends, they use this to really capitalise. One of the big decisions is that he wants to make peace with the Free Folk. And after the battle in the previous season, a lot of the Crows are, there's a lot of resentment. It's built up over thousands of years, and Jon Snow's saying, "Come on, guys, we've got to do it this way," and everybody's like, "No, we want to kill each other." But so he's facing those problems. Also, Sam, he's falling in love with Gilly, so Jon can't rely on him so much anymore. He's pretty much alone. And that's not to stop the fact that he's facing other problems, such as Stannis and Melisandre. Melisandre's trying to get in his pants. I have a feeling that there's probably something to do with King's blood or royal blood somewhere there, but that's a theory we'll talk about later. And Stannis. I mean, Stannis is you know, pretty much he's at the Night's Watch. He's saved their ass, but you know they don't have enough food for him, and he needs more soldiers, and yeah, so there's a whole thing going on there. Jon's doing the best he can. He can't give Stannis any soldiers. You know, he's got to be neutral. So anyway, Stannis ends up leaving for Winterfell. He decides he's going to take on the Boltons. Okay, now Stannis also, before he does that, he decides to, since the Northmen, the Free Folk, won't join his army, he decides that he needs to set an example of the King Beyond the Wall. So he decides to burn him. And yeah, Mance Rayder, that's it. Oh yeah, he doesn't do very well, Mance Rayder. Luckily, Jon kills him with an arrow, but that causes, you know, more resentment from the Night's Watch, and even a bit of resentment from the Northmen. But anyway, that we'll move on from that. Now we'll get to Cersei's and what's happening in King's Landing. Things are not too good there. You've got Tommen, he's the new king. He marries Margaret, and he's a very weak king. So Cersei's enlists these guys called the Sparrows, and they're a bit of a religious Puritan fanatics, for a better word of it. You know, she uses them to get to her enemies, but this ends up working completely against her, because the High Sparrow was really just using her. The High Sparrow was the leader of the Sparrows, and he with his faith militants end up pretty much going through the city and just causing a lot of carnage and damage as they religiously purify the area. That said, you know, Cersei brings it on herself. She uses them to get to her enemies, and then they end up finding out about her infidelities, and you know, Cersei ends up being in prison, and this ends up not being too good for her. She ends up having to do the Walker's shape, which was pretty brutal, really. I mean, I don't like Cersei's, but I wouldn't wish this hair treatment even on an enemy of mine, personally. And yeah, so she was horribly trapped in the prison. Then she confessed to a crime, does the big walk to the cathedral, where we end up finding out the mountain's back. Zombie mountain, yeah, the zombie that walked. Yeah, anyway, so he's back, and well, from there we'll move to Arya. Now Arya's in Bravos now, and there we get to meet, you know, the men without faces, and they train her. But she's not really one of them. She can't really separate her identity. I mean, to be a faceless man, you have to, faceless person, you have to become nobody. And she's always going to be Arya Stark. It's, yeah. So she gets in on her first mission, fails that, and there's consequences. She's going to be blind now. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out in the series, but we'll get to it. We'll find out next year. Oh no. That's so long to wait, isn't it? Anyway, from there we'll go to, you know, Sansa. Sansa's, you know, her situation just goes from bad to worse to bad, really bad. I mean, she really doesn't get a break. I mean, Littlefinger is manipulating her. She's manipulating him a little bit, but he's better at it at the moment. And she ends up marrying Ramsay Bolton, who, if you've been watching the show, you'll know that the Boltons as a whole aren't a very nice people, and their son is, you know, he's almost like Joffrey's replacement. So she's from there. She does get away from him in the end with Screech, but what becomes of that, we're not going to, well, again, we're going to have to wait until next year. Then we got Sam and Gilly. He's now going to be getting trained as a maester, so that'll be interesting. And he's got his girl, which, yeah, it's funny how they've done that. They've just ignored completely that people in the Night's Watch aren't supposed to have girlfriends, and it's just, no, they just ignored it completely. So I thought that was interesting. So we'll get to some. Obviously, my favourite moment of the series, Series 5, was the Battle of Hardhome. I mean, that was epic. It was something that I would expect from a large movie, and even then, it surpassed even most of them. So I have to take my hat off. I can see where the budget went to with that battle. It took a lot out of the series. Also, Jon getting injured at the end of the series, killed pretty much. Let's face the facts. He got stabbed about 5 or 6 times or something. So I don't think he's dead. By the way, I think he's coming back. I think Melisandre's going to bring him back. I think that's sort of why they brought it back to the Black Reach. Jorah. They're going after Dany now because, let's face the fact, I'll get to that. And my other favourite part was probably Dany jumping on the dragon, flying off after the gladiator battle with the Sons of the Harpies. That was well done. And, you know, it might have looked a bit cheap, but this is a television series, so, you know, those dragons look awesome for a television series, but she ends up, you know, down south or north, east, I'm not too sure. And so she's just in the middle of nowhere, and she's being picked up by the Dothraki again. So that should be interesting. A lot of unresolved things happened at the end of this series, which we sort of come to expect from George R. R. Martin. But overall, I really enjoyed the series. It had some of the most enjoyable moments I've had in the series, and some of the most gut-wrenching, such as when Stannis had his daughter burnt. Yeah, that was... I mean, Stannis, you know, he was a character that was growing. You know, you were almost... You didn't like him, but you respected him. And then he does that, and, you know, just full well that's it. He can't come back from that. Well, anyway, I think that's probably where I'm going to go up to now. I'll just say that, yeah, it had probably my favourite moments overall in so far. The first about 5 episodes I thought were very slow, a bit drawn out, but, you know, then it paced up. In those last 3 episodes, it was just bang, 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 bang. Yeah, a lot of unresolved issues now, but, you know, the Winds will find a lot of answers in the Winds of Winter and hit the next series after that. So everybody on YouTube, thanks for watching. I hope you have a marvellous day. If you like this video, like it, and maybe even subscribe. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against you. So thank you very much. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you later. Bye.